And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Black and Blue Pod. I'm your host, as always, Matt McLaughlin, alongside Timmy Gorman. And we're back from a little 4th of July, a little holiday-ish kind of hiatus. I was in Cleveland because, of course, my family decides Cleveland's a good summer vacation spot. But actually,
You
it
go to
was
the Hall
not.
of Fame?
Yeah, so we did Football Hall of Fame. Went to a Guardians game. Progressive Field, very nice ballpark. Definitely one of my favorite ballparks that I've seen.
How was the food?
I did not trust that food. I'm sorry. Like I
Yeah.
just ballpark food. I'm a little hesitant about it, let alone Cleveland. But I've
Did
heard
you
it's
go to
good.
rock and roll?
Yeah, so we did Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame, and Guardians game over like a 3-day stretch. And by day 3, I was ready to get the fuck out of Cleveland.
Is it that drab of a city?
It was a cool city, but it's not like Philly where you have it's not like a Philly in New York, Chicago, where like you have all these spots that you can go to and like there's stuff to keep you entertained like throughout a day or throughout a night or through a week. But with Cleveland, it was kind of like the area we were at least. It was like, yeah, you could go to the lakefront, got a couple restaurants, but that's about it.
It doesn't have like different everything's like the downtown is like one part. It's not like here
It,
where we have you can like go to like Fairmount has its own thing and
yeah,
Center
that's
City has Old City, South, like even West Philly to a point where if you're like in University City, it has its own areas. Like I see what you
exactly.
mean.
Yeah, exactly. Like the area where they have like Progressive Field and where the Cavs play, that arena, and there's a massive like that's where the main poppin' area is because that's where mainly all the restaurants are because they're trying to get everyone that's trying to go into the ballpark, or that's kind of like the main area. And again, Cleveland, very nice city. Um, Also didn't help that like around the corner from our hotel is where the hotel threw out the trash. So like every time you would turn the corner to like go towards the main strip where we were at, you had to walk by a dumpster that had like rotting cheese and and you just got a whiff of it every time you walked by. And
And a bunch
it
of
was
rats
terrible.
probably hiding there.
Probably that's very likely too. But yeah, that was not pleasant. Even my dad was like, this is horrendous. Yeah,
Feels like give me back to Glenside.
yeah, exactly. He's like, I want to go back to Abington. But that's not why we're here to talk about Cleveland. We're here to talk about some baseball. One of the biggest superstars in the game right now, decline an option. So maybe he gets traded or just leaves the team. We'll see about that. We're going to talk about ideal fits for that superstar. NBA action, some news popped up. Donovan Mitchell possibly getting traded. The Jazz are listening to offers for him. And DeAndre Ayton kind of in an awkward, like going back to your ex-girlfriend type situation, re-signing with the Phoenix Suns, even though it felt like he didn't want to be there anymore. Kind of strange. And then we're also going to talk about the Philadelphia Flyers. We don't do much hockey on this podcast, but they
There's a
irritated me
reason
so
for that.
much. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Oh, yeah. I was digging through the archives for this one on stats and
I'm
everything
laughing
else.
now, but at the end of this podcast, it's going to
It
be
will not
straight
be
red.
laughing. No, it will not. It will not be laughing at all. So we're gonna get right on into that right now. Juan Soto, the national superstar, arguably one of the best hitters in the league right now, turns down a massive $440 million extension, which seems crazy to us mortals, but it was stretched out over 15 years. So it's about roughly, I think it was like give or take 29.5 ish. Don't check my math, or do check my math on that, which he wants to be. It seems like from multiple reports that he wants to be on the higher end of the average annual value spectrum, which I don't blame him for. He doesn't want to be messed up with a massive contract stretched out over a long period of time, which doesn't translate to that much, I guess, in the short term, while he's still healthy and everything like that. So that being said, should the Nationals trade him, and where should they trade him to?
Wait, so is that the main reason he turned it down? Was he wanted to make more per year?
That's what I've seen. Now, that could be contrary to other reports, but that's what I've seen.
Oh, well, that's just, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. I would turn down that offer too, because the Nationals don't seem like they care about winning again. Like
That's
they
also got to be
basically
a part of it.
reverted.
I would
You
imagine
would
that.
I would have hoped that that would be the majority. Like they've reverted back to the late '90s Expos, and
Mm,
it's just bad. I think the main starting point here is like these contracts that baseball teams are handing out for a sport that the variables differ from year to year, and it's so hard to find like a true superstar that can carry a team, a franchise, or just and not even that, just play at a Hall of Fame, like one of the greats level. Not every franchise has a player like that. Like most sports, you can go to, and it could be even if you suck, you at least have that one player that is like either on the verge of being like a perennial all star and considered in like the top 20 players, like in basketball or stuff like that,
yeah.
or football. It's like you at least have like a quarterback or
Yeah,
a
like you have a
stud
Patrick
running back.
Mahomes or a Josh Allen that can take over.
Yeah, like somebody like that. Like for it, there's always somebody in these sports, even in hockey. If you suck, like the Avalanche sucked for years, but while they were building back that team back into what it eventually became, they had Landeskog and McKinnon all that time, and like it's like they suck, but it's fun to go watch them.
Yeah.
And that's something else we'll bring up with the Flyers. But in baseball, it's so hard to find these guys. They've already let one walk and Bryce Harper to a division rival. Sorry, my thing is all messed up.
No, you're good.
You're not hearing feedback, are you? It's like
No,
staticky.
no, you're good.
And now they're like, I think it's a panic move, maybe. And it's just like, well, we already lost Bryce Harper. And even though he hasn't been what everyone thought he is, although the last 2 years is, hopefully more of the norm. It's that the 15 years is just ridiculous. I get that he's only 22, maybe,
Yeah, it's still super young.
but it's there's so many things that can go wrong in baseball. I mean, look at Ken Griffey. He was on his way to being probably the best player to ever play the game, and then he lost essentially 6 years in Cincinnati, and to the point that when he came back, it was like Sports Illustrated had to do a cover on him, and it was like, "Welcome back, kid." Like I still remember it because it was he was such a disappointment because he couldn't stay healthy for the first 4 years of that contract. I'm forgetting when he signed it. I think it was like 2000 maybe, and that was 2004 is when he finally had his first good year with the Reds. So I guess what I'm trying to say, long story short, as I get long-winded as always, is that both ends, I don't know, I guess what they're thinking. And in the first place, I was thinking, yeah, I don't blame Juan Soto. Why would I want to get tied down to a contract with a franchise that doesn't seem to care? We won a World Series, and then they immediately just let everyone walk away. We haven't made the playoffs since we won that World Series, and we don't seem to be getting any better. I don't even know. I don't think they have a great minor league system. It's not as bad as certain teams, but it's definitely not as good as like the Rays. And yeah, they can spend money, but they always like we were saying, they have a bunch of money tied up in Strasburg. They don't really have any other pitching per se. The core of that team that won the World Series is pretty much gone besides him. They traded away Turner for nothing. They let Scherzer walk. The whole you just go down the list,
Yeah,
it's like, why would I want to stay there? But then at the same time with the Nationals, it's like this just proves that you don't really know what you're doing. Just because you tied one guy up for 15 years doesn't make you a contender.
And also the Nationals are a team that have had not even superstar face of the franchise guys and like Harper, but they also had quality, good depth players like Trey Turner and Anthony Rendon, who also walked in free agency, and they got massive
well, no, they
deals.
traded Turner. They did.
Oh, that's
remember
right.
they gave him away for nothing.
Yeah, well, it's basically for free. And I don't blame Soto because I'm just scrolling through the reports as you were talking, just trying to figure out what are the possibilities. I found this article from ESPN. It was collected from information from Jesse Rogers and Jeff Passan.
Okay.
And he told Soto told reporters on Saturday after the declining of the extension became public. He said, I don't want to keep losing. So that's definitely a part of it.
Oh, good. Okay. So he actually does care.
Yeah. And another issue that this article notes from ESPN is the possibility of an ownership sale from the Lerner family. And they said in April that they've owned the team since 2006. And I don't think he wants to go through an ownership change while he's in his prime years, which could mean, which I kind of get, because if you're a player that's in your prime, you're fully healthy, or you're not even haven't even reached your prime yet, like Soto has, he's so very young. So we don't even know what he's capable of now.
Mm-mm.
Where the current ownership wants to tank. Okay, fuck it, this tanking isn't working. Let's sell. And then the new ownership comes in and says, oh no, we want to keep tanking again. I don't blame him for saying, get me out of here. Like, let me go to a team that will at least compete and give me a chance to win a World Series. And because we thought for years Clayton Kershaw will never get a World Series. We thought for years he just couldn't, either he couldn't come up or the Dodgers couldn't come up in those big moments to help him out and finally capture that ring. And thankfully they did. And he got his ring and the monkey off his back.
But he wasn't that big of a part of it though, too.
Exactly. You didn't see the prime Kershaw.
And he's got two perfect examples. He's got one to look at and a former teammate in Zimmerman. Think about how many years of Zimmerman's prime the Nationals wasted.
Oh.
And then when they finally got good, the injuries were starting to catch up. And then it was choke job after choke job in the playoffs. You know what I mean? And to us as Phillies fans, we were just laughing. Mainly because when the Phillies were so good in the mid to late 2010s, the Nationals announcers, I remember because we would sometimes get the Nationals broadcast up in Millersville. It was really weird. I never understood it.
Neither do I. I get broadcast from like Buffalo sometimes when I'm up at Penn State. And I'm like,
it makes no sense. And you'd get it, and it's like Rob Dibble at that time was one of their announcers. I don't know if he still is, probably not, because he's one of those special kinds of asshole that ruins his good favor within like a year or two wherever he goes. Nice. But I just remember every time the Phillies would come in, he would just sit there and just shit on it's the Phillies. The Nationals were like 40-85, and the Phillies were like 92 and like whatever.
Yeah, he's just taking unnecessary
just Chase
shots.
Utley's. I mean, and it's not even like Utley's that consistent. And good. I'm glad that we broke his hand last. Like this is shit he was saying like on the air. And then he'd be like, and Nationals fans, you guys got to come down here. We got to get all these loser Philadelphia Phillies fans out of the ball, because it's essentially like the Phillies had two home parks back in the day, because everyone would just go down and watch them play in the National Stadium because the Nationals fans didn't exist.
Exactly.
And
so where do you so where I have one team in mind that I think would make a really big splash or a big shift in the MLB landscape if they do make this trade. But do you have any teams right off the bat?
How many years does he have left in the current one?
He becomes a free agent.
Or no, he's got at least like two, right?
2024, I believe, is when he becomes a free agent.
Because what, 6-year service time?
Yeah. After the 2024 season.
Okay, so they still got two. So they don't even have to panic yet, but this is when they could probably get the most for him if they think about it. But my other thing, before I got on the tangent that meant nothing, was the other person that he has to look at, and probably why he turned it down, is Mike Trout. Trout, at this point, is as great as he is, and as much as Philadelphia fans love him because he's one of ours, and we've for years hoped he would come home, and he signed that stupid fucking extension. And I'm not saying he would have come to us, but we at least could have got to see him in the postseason on another team. You know what I mean? And that right there is a prime example for every young superstar coming up on how you have to handle your future perfectly. Because Trout thought, all right, they're eventually going to build around me. And even though they tried to, and they have, it's like he must have pissed off the baseball gods in their life. Like, I don't know if he's like Babe Ruth reincarnated and just like came back with a better personality, but like it's just inconceivable that they have Ohtani, him, they had Rendon, they have some solid outfield prospects that came up and they're hitting decently. It's just mind blowing that team can't be better than they are. And I think Soto probably looked at that, and I think the Nationals, I think they'd be smart. They already suck. They're already on the down track. Strasburg, I don't even know, is he pitching this year? I forget. I just have
He's on
been
the
so
60-day. He's on the 60-day IL with
unfortunately, I
ribs.
think his career might be over. At
I
best, he
wouldn't
might
be.
have to go the
I,
Kerry Wood route and become a closer.
yeah, I forgot he was in the league. I
Yeah.
genuinely forgot until he made
I
like
haven't
one
he hasn't
start.
pitched. He hasn't pitched since they won, basically. Since they won
Exactly.
it all. So you got to think it's got to be a team with assets, but also that when they give up those assets, it's not like they're depleting their farm system, and they think that getting Soto puts them at least one or two moves away, or it is like maybe the final move. So I honestly think a team that would be awesome to see, and it might help because they need a shift along with firing their manager. I think it would be great if he went to the White Sox
I was thinking the same exact thing.
because they have the parts
Yeah.
and it won't deplete everything. And I think he would fit perfectly in with the net. Then like him and Tim Anderson would that together, they would just be like, give me all that smoke. The most I don't give a fuck in one team. And once they get rid of La Russa and get a real manager in there, oh my God, watch out. That could be scary.
That's the exact same team that I was thinking. I was trying to piece at least like what would be one offer that the White Sox could give that would at least be tempting. I came up with like Andrew Vaughn plus Gavin Sheets and maybe Luis Robert, but I don't obviously the White Sox wouldn't want to throw in Robert. They didn't have to. Duh.
I don't
But
even know if Andrew Vaughn would tempt them because isn't he having is he having a bad year or
he wasn't having the same season as he did last year. But I think when I was putting these packages together, I was trying to figure out what player is like promising enough to at least build around and be tempting for the Nationals to say, like, okay, this is a relatively young guy on a decent contract that we don't need to shell out a ton of money for. Let's kind of almost like a take a flyer situation. Now, if you're trading for a guy like, if you're trading away a player like Juan Soto, you never want to be in a take a flyer situation. But youth is going to play a massive part in this because the Nationals are going to want players that are going to be around for the long term. So
they have a lot of pitching they could give up too when you think about it.
But I think the more disposable parts are the guys like Eloy Jimenez, Yohan Moncada.
Oh, absolutely. It'll
Yeah,
be one of them. It's one of those three. It's either Robert, Moncada, or Jimenez would probably be one of the three that would be like, and then probably Vaughn would be like the two centerpieces. And I think they still have some guys in the minors.
I did not look in their minor system. I should have done a better job of that. But here's another possible outcome that I was thinking of. Let's say the Dodgers come in, call the Nationals and say, hey, we got two good prospects. I looked up these guys' names today, Bobby Miller and Miguel Vargas. Vargas gives you some versatility, and Miller is still a pretty good arm for what he's a big name arm in their prospect system. Gavin Lux heading to arbitration soon, but he's still got another year of team control. And Freddie Freeman, if you want a veteran presence and a big name to really at least put the name on the marquee and say, hey, Freddie Freeman's
Can they trade
coming
him
to
yet, though?
Washington. That's a good question. I
don't know what the
considered
baseball rules on that are.
and neither did I. But it feels like
I
Freddie
would hope
Freeman's
he doesn't go to
miserable
the
in Los
Dodgers.
Angeles. Huh?
Yeah, I don't think he ever wanted to go there. It was the only team that could give him the money he wanted.
Exactly. That was the whole thing with that agent situation.
And still, it's becoming weirder by the more like it's just becoming weirder by the day. I would like the thing with the other reason with the White Sox is because it's fun. It's somebody that isn't the usual suspects. It's not the fucking Yankees or Red Sox or you know what I mean, like or Cardinals or Dodgers. It's somebody that we just wouldn't you wouldn't expect. I'm looking at their farm system now. They got a couple guys that are due up this year or next year in their top 10 to 15. I know they got another. I know they have at least two Cubans that played yesterday in the Futures game.
Okay.
They got a Cespedes. I don't know if he's related, but he's due in 2020. He's due this year. He's 24, so he's a little bit up there. But he is the younger brother of Jonas. Okay, Yolique.
Learn something new.
He's an outfielder. He's got plus power, the whole 9 yards. He be something. They got a shortstop who's the number one prospect, Colson Montgomery, who I think everyone he's only 20, and I believe he's like a big deal with when they drafted him. I'm just trying to think of the names I'm looking at through here.
If you're another team I kind of thought of, I was trying to figure out what teams would actually be legitimate threats to land Soto. What about Baltimore? So Baltimore's been red hot the last few weeks, but they're in this weird, strange, no man's land of
they peaked way too early.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm running the Orioles, we have basically a payroll of pennies compared to the rest of Major League Baseball.
They always have too.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
What's his name is an asshole.
The owner,
Angelus.
Yeah. Camden Yards, beautiful ballpark to come in, DMV area.
Beautiful ballpark. He's already down there. It's just the other side of it,
Yeah, exactly. Not too much, not too big of a move. And if anyone has any prospects that a team would want, it's Baltimore.
The thing is, do you think they would trade him to Baltimore? Because there's obviously it's a newer, and it's mainly based off the geography. But
yeah.
They try to make it seem like anytime you read or listen about it, it's there's some weird hatred because Baltimore hates the fact that MLB gave Washington that team and they stole half of their fan base.
Yeah,
because
I wouldn't
of revenue
surprised.
Reasons, and then also it just makes it easy.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody has a right to be pissed, it's the Montreal fans because the strike essentially in '94 essentially killed their franchise. They had the best team, and then they lost their franchise.
Yeah, and Baltimore, unfortunately, the Orioles haven't had a bona fide star since Ripken.
Well,
Machado was not on the same level as Cal Ripken Jr.
He wasn't. No, and it was because when they were actually had a team that could have made a run to the World Series when they lost to the ALCS that one year. He still was too young to be the face of it. It was I think JJ Hardy was on that team.
Yeah, it wasn't
Chris Davis.
It was Chris Davis, and then wasn't it the year after he got the massive contract?
Adam Jones was on that team.
Jones. That's what I was saying.
Because he came up in what? In 2012.
We're digressing here. Digressing.
Yeah, but like you said, I mean, and it's not just they haven't had a face. They haven't been a real outside of making the playoffs a couple times since 2012. They sucked.
Yeah.
From 2001 on.
There's a reason why Adley Rutschman was a number one pick to Baltimore for a reason. There's a reason why. But if I'm Baltimore, I'd at least poke around and see what prospects we would have to at least consider giving up.
And like you said, they have money, right? They definitely have the prospects.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is they don't really have they maybe have one trade chip that's a major leaguer, that outfielder. I can never remember his name.
Trey Mancini?
No. I know Mancini. Think I'm not gonna know Notre Dame boy. Come on.
Fair. Come on. Yeah, I should have known better.
Lewis or no? He's a leadoff hitter. It's a tiny little black guy. That's all. I just know that. And he's good though. He hits 300. He's he's
Jorge
way too
Lopez?
good. No, he's way too good to be on the Orioles. Or maybe he just had maybe it was just a 1 year wonder. I thought he was one of their
looking at pictures. That's why I'm an idiot. Jonathan Aru? Jorge Mateo.
It's not like a
Tyler Nevin.
No.
Cedric Mullins.
That's it. Him.
Cedric Mullins.
Is he still doing good? He was a 300 hitter 2 years in a row. And he was their lone all-star.
He's got 258 batting average.
Never mind.
Yeah, 7 home
So it was a
runs.
once. I thought he was still like a legit player. So that's out of the question there. Here's another one. It wouldn't work, but they always have prospects. And I don't know you could ever convince them to go there, but at least they'd be willing to do it for 2 years, I think, to help because it's a gamble they always take. The Devil Rays or the Rays.
Yeah.
Inject some life.
Yeah.
You get that like kind of star. They already got a solid team. Unfortunately, they're just stuck in a division with two teams that have two of the 5 highest payrolls in baseball, in the Red Sox and Yankees. Another team in the Blue Jays that finally put it all together with their, cachet of young prospects that hit the major leagues all at the same time and have, blossomed, minus the fact that they just fired their manager and whatever's going on. But they still got the talent. You know what I mean?
And Bo Bichette hasn't really hit his stride this year. Like he's been kind of up and down. And
Is Biggio gone, by the way?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I was just wondering that because I haven't, but so it's a tough thing, but that's how you sell it. You bring him in, and it's like you're the guy that could get us back into this race. We lost in Game 6 of the World Series 2 years ago, albeit a weird, pandemic shortened season. Still, we were there. We were fighting. I believe they made the wild card game last year, if I'm correct. I can't be 100% sure. And they have the talent. You know what I mean? So why not take the swing?
I just feel like that goes against what the Rays have built that team on, which is like money
no,
ball,
I know.
Taking like analytics and stuff like that.
But it's the idea is you're not going to be able to sign him. But you also know you always have prospects because you have a system that you perfected over the last 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like they did it with Carl Crawford. They were like, they could have traded him after a year or two. They lost the World Series to the Phillies. Shameless plug. But at the same time, like they were like, no, because we know next year we're going to rebound and we know we're not going to get anything for him, but we're going to hold on to him for the chance that we think we could be even better and have a legit shot at winning no matter who we go up against. And they were awesome. They won I think 100 games or something that year. They were the best team in the major leagues. And then they just unfortunately ran into a Texas Rangers team that hadn't been in the playoffs since 1999 and hit everything all at once with a hot Josh Hamilton and the pitchers on fire. And it just sucked. But I think that's where right there, that's why I'm saying I look at that. I say, we got 2 years of him. We know he's going to walk, but we just need one more. We need that guy to stick in the middle of our lineup and just be that guy. And he's got the energy. Maybe he can get some fans to the stadiums. And who knows, maybe we convince him to sign a short 2-year contract or something. He sticks around and then goes hit free agency at age 26 and gets all the money.
That's fair. That's fair.
I just, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely probably not what they would do, but at the same time, why not try it?
Yeah, exactly. Why not try it? So let's move on to the NBA. DeAndre Ayton back to Phoenix, which we were both texting about this as soon as it happened. That we were both kind of surprised by this, but first, little details: $133 million contract over 4 years. And Phoenix, what's interesting is that the Indiana Pacers signed Ayton, but Phoenix couldn't match that contract. And so Phoenix did. And now Ayton cannot be traded until January 15th. And in the Phoenix Suns, their big 3 salaries are massive. Devin Booker is going to get paid $33.8 million this upcoming season. Ayton's getting $30.9 this season, and Chris Paul's getting $28.4 million this season. And Sarver, who's I think still under investigation by the NBA, has a history of not paying guys, to say the least. And so this was kind of a very surprising move. But I think with all the questions surrounding Phoenix after that Game 7 demolition derby by Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks, they had to make this move and at least keep. Now they have Bridges, Booker, and Ayton all under contract, at least for the foreseeable future.
Do you think when it got announced that they signed, they matched the offer sheet, do you think Steve Nash saw that and was like, that motherfucker? But like in a nicer Canadian way.
Yeah.
Like, it was his first thought, like, are you kidding me? And then he thought about, the next time they play in Phoenix, going up to the front office and punching Sarver in the face. Because, as you just said, he's notorious for being a cheapskate, which is always the prime example of don't own a sports franchise if you're not going to be willing to spend the money. I'm not saying spend it wildly, but the whole point is to win championships. And Robert Sarver, I think, sees it as just a way to try and sleep with women under the age of 30. I don't know.
Okay, no,
Like,
Robert's no. Hold on. We do not know that for a fact. Let's just getting a little outrageous here. Robert Sarver for whatever reason, he just decides not to pay people, and sports owners tend to have this. There are certain sports owners that their moves or lack thereof transactions creates this perception that they're not in it to win it. And you see that with Stan Kroenke until the Rams won the Super Bowl. And
don't even get me started.
Stan Kroenke's one
You
of those.
knew exactly what you were doing with that comment. Don't do it.
He was the first one. He's called Silent Stan for a reason. I couldn't think of any. I don't follow English soccer that well, so I don't know any of
Trust
the
me.
other
Arsenal fans hate him more than Rams fans.
I'm sure they do, but point still stands. There's a lot of owners that it kind of creates the fans
Sterling.
think that the fans create this perception, probably rightfully so, that the owners are just there to just watch the value of the franchise go up and not actually try and win it.
Mm-hmm. They see it more as a toy than actually like an asset, and it should be looked at as a child, and they see it as like just a fancy toy that they can walk around and be like, "Well, I own a sports franchise." Like,
yeah, it's getting into the boys' club.
Exactly. It's an ego thing with these people. That's exactly what it is. And so I think everyone was surprised. I don't think anyone thought that they would match it. You know what I mean? And obviously I do not I'm just make it like, I don't think that's what he uses it for. I think he's definitely has questionable integrity. But that said, I want to know, and you're going to get it. We're going to get this piece and come like December, the tell all, right? It's going to happen, and it's going to be like inside what really went wrong with between DeAndre and the Saint Suns and how they were able to. And then you're going to get the whole story about how at like 12 midnight or like at 10 in the morning, the day before the offer sheet was matched, Booker and Bridges and Monty Williams and Chris Paul all got in like a car together, and they went over there and they had brunch with DeAndre, and they smoothed things out and they talked about it, and and that's what they convinced him to stay. You'll get it, and it won't be everything you want to know, but you'll eventually get it. I just like, as awkward as it might be in the thing, and everyone's like bewildered, I'm just happy that they did it, because I would have been so pissed off. And I'm not even a big Suns fan, even though I do want Chris Paul to get his ring. I would have been so angry again for the Suns fans to see them have a generational team that just gets basically cockblocked from a championship, and just by dumb moves and their cheapskate owner screws them over. And, then they have to go back to being crappy for another 10 years. So as awkward as it is now, I was actually really, really happy that they matched the sheet and he's going back there and they're keeping that core intact.
Yeah, and I do believe that if there's any coach that can keep this machine running, it is Monty Williams and Chris Paul. As much as you may hear like guys from the old Clippers team say how much of a pain in the ass he has to deal with sometimes, he wants to win. He's a guy that wants to win, and he knows what it takes to get a teammate on board to help that team win. It's just kind of weird that Ayton's a guy that they played 17 minutes in a game 7 that they lost by 33 points, even though they were down by like 50 at one point. And they were
down by 50 at tip off.
Yeah, seriously. Luka was walking in with the confidence of we're up by Wilt Chamberlain's average already. And I think it would have been a bigger loss if he does walk, if Ayton does walk, because if there's one weak spot in that Phoenix team, it's the front court. It's the big man. They
don't have size.
Exactly. They don't necessarily have the size to compete. And especially the Lakers are going to have a healthy Anthony Davis, presumably, coming up this season. And sure, the Mavericks aren't necessarily the tallest, but they have big men that can really stretch the perimeter.
And they just signed, what's his name, too?
Christian Wood?
They signed Christian Wood?
They traded for Christian Wood, but I don't know.
Yeah, they signed JaVale McGee.
Oh, JaVale McGee. That's right.
And that's not a world beater, but JaVale McGee's been on some championship teams. So for all the clowning around and, assholesness he was known for early in his career, he might still have a little bit of it in him, but the dude knows what it takes to win.
Exactly. So if Phoenix lost Ayton, because, like you said, because Sarver decides not to pay him, that would have sent this team, I think, into a tailspin. And then all of a sudden you're looking at, where can we trade Chris Paul? Okay, do we really want to keep Booker? Is Booker going to be happy and then want to force his way out in the middle or in the beginning of that new Supermax that he's due? Mm-hmm. It's a whole domino.
It'd be a mess. It'd be exactly. And they'd be right back to where they were 6 years ago.
And I'm not on board with this idea that already their championship window is closed, because that was granted. How do I say this?
Yes. Who's saying that?
Who do you think? Bill Simmons? I don't know if Ursillo agreed with him, but
he was busy literally on his knees for 9 months ago. See, he really is on that whole trade thing. Anyway,
this is going to lead to a whole nother tangent, but it's not just him though. There are other people. I see articles of like, is Phoenix windows closed and all this type of stuff. They were a Herculean effort by Giannis away from winning a title.
They were up 2-0.
Exactly. They were 2 wins away. And you mean to tell me that they can't at least compete? Yes, the Warriors are going to be the Warriors, but you mean to tell me they can't at least make a deep run compared to some of these other teams? Utah isn't going to be Utah. Denver's going to have some rust trying to incorporate Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back into the mix. By playoffs,
player ever,
huh?
They have the greatest player ever. So
of course, Nikola Jokic, he's just the greatest player. Michael Jordan doesn't exist.
No.
Yeah, pretty much. So the Clippers are Kawhi and Paul George going to be fully healthy for an entire season? That feels like that hasn't happened since Obama left office. Like
and even then,
and even then it was questionable probably. So if Phoenix can just stay glued together for like 2 more years, I would not be surprised if they make another surprise run into the conference finals or NBA finals. And this is also a team that had the most wins in the regular season last season. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they don't know how to win ball games. I think there's, like you said, we're going to get some weird tell-all article, book, 30 for 30, whatever it is about that game 7 and what happened. But for the time being, I'm going to chalk it up as an anomaly and just say, like, I don't think that happens again.
Who do you think is going to write that article? You think it'll be Windhorst or Zach Lowe?
I think Ramona Shelburne. That's
a good one. Yeah.
Or it would. The Ringer doesn't necessarily do the tell-all stuff.
Tell-alls. They unless it's like unless they're trying to end somebody's career.
Yeah, seriously.
They only know how to publish cancel culture pieces.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Ramona Shelburne, because I feel like she did that with the Westbrook. Didn't she write the Westbrook article? There's like a Westbrook article.
She had one of them, I think. But yeah, I agree with you though. As I once again pulled you off topic.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous to say that, but you know what? Go ahead and say it, because you know who they were saying about that 2 years ago? Giannis. Every year at the day he didn't win one. Oh, this Phoenix window is closed. It'll close. And it's just, they were saying about LeBron. Oh, is LeBron ever going to win? It's just, unfortunately, that's just what journalists, like sports journalists, like to do. It's like they just have to create a narrative to be the click.
And it's easy content to fill up a podcast or a radio show or whatever you got to do to at least just keep yourself entertained. We only got baseball now. It's tough sledding. as a sports fan just to
I
try and.
just wish the L's would be kept like for these people. Like I wish
Oh
they would
yeah,
have a
yeah.
win-loss record because there's certain people like my favorite Kevin O'Connor whose losses to wins would be so astronomical. It's not. Oh, I just love him. He's going to be the greatest, and that's why he's playing in the G League for the third year in a row. Like
He's the Hugh Jackson of sports writers. He
oh
just
my
has it.
god, the
Just
freaking
keeps finding head
Killian
coaching
Tilly,
jobs.
Killian Tilly, and then now that he sucks, it's like he never.
Or do
Oh,
you mean
well, you
Killian
never know.
Hayes?
Killian Hayes, yeah. I'm thinking of the guy that went to Gonzaga. My bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course.
I don't even know. As I was saying it, I'm like, that's not who it is, but that will correct me.
Yeah. Hey, you said that with your chest. You had some confidence on that. I don't blame.
But remember
that
how
was
much he was
impressive.
on like Frankie Smokes and Killian Hayes and blah blah blah, and now like the second they were bad, never once has he ever been like, well, yeah, like it just didn't work out for them or stuff. He just acts like he never was their biggest fan. He just moves on to the next European guy.
Yeah, it's a lot of European guys. But let's move on. Phoenix is wrapped up. We'll see how they do. Honestly, like
I think they'll be fine. And
yeah.
you know why? Because as much as like everyone wants to, I don't think it was a player problem because Ayton has come out and said how much Chris Paul saved his career. Like he was tough and he knew he needed that tough love. So I wouldn't be surprised that Chris Paul really was a big part of making him sign. They'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I think by the time next season tips off, I think we'll all be like, oh, is Phoenix how far can Phoenix go? Are they gonna bounce back or whatever? So let's move on. Donovan Mitchell, one of your favorites, Timmy. I say that very sarcastically. Possibly, probably on the move in Utah. Utah's officially fielding calls, whoever leaked that to Woj. And so now they're probably. So now the question becomes what team is going to trade for him because it feels like, well, it doesn't feel like it is. The only teams that can really take on that contract are very bad teams. And so is Donovan Mitchell going to really want to go to a bad team? If I'm Utah, I'm staying away from Miami. I don't even want to hear Pat Riley's voice. If anyone takes a call from the Miami Heat organization, I am firing them on the spot because Pat Riley always seems to think 3 steps ahead. And he definitely knows some stuff about the players that he's trading that he knows like, okay, they'll be bad in like 2 years.
He's the only one that could he's the only one that could out Danny Ainge.
Exactly. But when you're looking at the Knicks who are desperately trying to save this like Tom Thibodeau era and signing Jalen Brunson, do they really want to pair Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell together? I would suggest not doing that because you have to play defense at some point. At some point in this game, you have to.
At least that's how the rules were explained to us. When we were
at least that's the way I was told how this game goes.
We were told defense wins championships for our entire lives. So I think that might be pivotal.
Yeah, and then Mike D'Antoni was like, defense, never heard of that. Pretty much. One trade.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, seriously. So I put together, I was on a trade machine, of course.
You went down a rabbit hole?
Yeah, I went down a rabbit hole. So here's a trade I put together. Donovan Mitchell goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Utah gets an exchange. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Darius Baisley, and 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders. What do you think about that?
I think if Sam Presti would give that much up for Donovan Mitchell, he should be fired on the spot. This is the problem, is that what he got for Rudy Gobert, which he never should have been able to get for him, but the ghost of David Kahn clearly answered that phone that day, as we discussed a couple of weeks ago. Now people are going to look at Mitchell, who is definitely the superior player to Gobert, but still is not a superior player. He, like Gobert, has been on the downswing the last 2 seasons, even though he is not much younger, but still a couple of years younger and shouldn't be plummeting down like a 30-year-old center. As you mentioned, his defense is suspect. He is, by all definitions, a combo guard and not in a good way. It's the bad way where you don't really know what's the best way to use them. And he thinks one thing and somebody else thinks the other, and he doesn't want to listen to what somebody else thinks. He thinks he's a top 10 player. he wishes he could be a top 20 because he's not. And Danny Ainge
Donovan
at this
Mitchell
point
is in
does
top
too.
20.
Not to me, no.
Top 20? I could
Think about how much talent's in this league now, Matt.
I
There is
know
a
that
lot of talent. The
I know
top
there's a
10
lot.
teams had two great players, most likely. Outside of the Mavs, which is Luka and
KD, Kyrie, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, James Harden. We still keeping James Harden in that?
I'd take Harden over Mitchell.
James Harden, so that's
And
7.
you know how I feel about Harden too. Like I'm not even. So what? Harden. So then you got to think Devin Booker,
Devin Booker,
Jimmy Butler,
Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown.
I'd take Edwards over him in Minnesota in a heartbeat.
I do like Edwards. I do like me some Anthony Edwards. Karl Anthony
don't
Towns.
That's like I find them in the same kind of thing. So
Okay.
I don't know. Ja.
Oh, Ja, Steph,
Clay.
I'm at 15.
I hate him, but Trey Young is he's better for a franchise, and he's a better offensive player too. Neither of them play defense, so Trey Young's a better offensive player. You know what I mean?
Not a lick of defense.
Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard when healthy, but I'd still put him over there for the track record.
Okay.
I'm just trying to go through like the
no,
the
that's
divisions.
what I'm thinking of. I got like the map of the United States in my head, and I'm trying to figure out. Okay.
I'd probably take
Luka.
Yeah. I'd probably take SGA over him.
Oh, I would not do that. Nope. I will take Donovan Mitchell over SGA. Sorry, I love me some SGA, but I will take Donovan Mitchell.
And that's like now I'm trying to think of what teams we didn't. I'd take Sabonis over Donovan Mitchell. I think Sabonis offers more.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's like up into like top 10s, but I think Sabonis is the better overall well-rounded player.
Yeah, and he's a guy that's going to get his teammates involved. He's one of the best passers in the game.
He's a sneaky good defender.
Yeah. So I don't hate that take either. I will say one. I know this is a Philly podcast.
I guess Orlando doesn't have anybody.
No, not at all. If Tyrese Maxey can do what he did this past season and do it again this season, he's entering that conversation. I'm not saying he's there, but he's entering that conversation.
With a little more consistency. He's right there with Brunson.
Yes, agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd take Brunson over Donovan Mitchell. Like,
I don't
think Brunson should have got the money he should got. I just think that the thing with Donovan Mitchell is, and I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's just been made to look like he is a super duper star because he played for a franchise that statistically is not a franchise or historically is not like a franchise that a lot of neutrals would flock to. They're in a state that has all of its own weirdness to it before you even get into the religion aspect. Their fans are notorious for being racist and assholes. And that's so many people like you can just go back the last 5 years and there's multiple people. Westbrook had an incident there. Who I think Lillard might have had an incident. Paul George maybe. Like there's just numerous through the years that they are just not, they're not great fans. And so it's like he was the best player on a team that was succeeding more as a team than because of their best player. And because of a coach who, I'm sorry, doesn't get enough credit for how good of a coach Quinn Snyder is. I would take him over Doc in a heartbeat. I'm sorry. I really would.
I think Quinn Snyder resigned to set up him to be the successor of Popovich in San Antonio.
I wouldn't surprise. I think he also, Danny Ainge went to him and said, I'm blowing it up. And Quinn's like, peace.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not sitting here playing build a bear with a bunch of, you know what I mean?
Royce, not even Royce O'Neal anymore. Got traded.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Why would you want to do that? Like, it's not even worth the time to. Oh, we didn't even mention Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray when healthy.
I said Jokic. I think I left out Murray.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. But that would be interesting. Like, do like who would you take? This sounds.
Did we
This is
say Chris Paul?
This is definitely. I think I did. This is like an ESPN production meeting. Like
I know.
who?
I know.
Let's do a segment on who would you
We
take
just
over Donovan Mitchell.
we just did it. We just did a whole ESPN first take meeting at 4:00 on a Sunday.
Yeah, pretty much. Except we don't have Stephen A. Smith talking about the Knicks or Chris Russo.
Where's my pen so I can like point it at people? So, but no, and like I said, he's a good player, and I would take him on the Sixers as the like second or third option in a heartbeat. He would be great for us. The problem is that Danny Ainge is not going to trade him unless he's winning the deal.
Yeah.
And like you said, the only way he's winning the deal is if he just ships him to another shitty team.
I think that's where OKC comes into play, though, because in that obviously that trade that I made up that Utah would.
But why would you think they would give up SGA for him? Why would they not keep him though?
Why would they not keep SGA?
Because you think about it, most of the picks they have as profit. Like if they get good, that's not really hurting all these future picks. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I get what you're saying, but something about OKC. I hope SGA stays there and kind of becomes that next, sort of that franchise guy with OKC. But
the team is going to be so fun.
But I think I would not be surprised if OKC did that trade as a move to put butts into the seats. And maybe they look at this as like a catapulting point.
But this is what I'm saying. Like SGA is like the fans love him, don't they? Like, and he wants to be there.
He just hasn't been on he hasn't been on the court because OKC's been tanking and telling him to stay off the court.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. He came out. So why would you not want to pair him? Like, unfortunately, they probably have to give up Lou Dort. Not that that's like the world.
The torture chamber.
You know what I'm saying? That he probably had to be part of that package because that's the kind of player Danny Ainge creams in his pants over. Like he's the less dickish market like B-level Marcus Smart.
Poor man's Marcus Smart.
You know what I mean? Like without like the asshole attitude.
Yeah.
I love Lou Dort.
I get what you're saying.
God, I would kill for Lou Dort on the Sixers.
We would kill for a lot of people to be on the Sixers. I would kill for Thibault to have Lou Dort's attitude. Let's put it that way. That true. But I mean, Knicks. We said Knicks, Heat, Thunder. Where do you think that he lands anywhere specific? Like, do you have one team
So I think the Knicks, if they had any assets, they're the one that's most desperate to make this move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Outside of that, like you got to look into it. Like it's like you said, it's like who has it, and the only other person that does, the other way that this can get accomplished is if you get a three-team trade going.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And you, like somebody gets shifted somewhere. Like they get like the Knicks get a third team in, and they send Randall somewhere, like probably to Utah, and Utah will just eat his contract.
Yep.
And because that's probably what you would have to give up, even though you're hoping that Randall like gets back to what he was.
Mm-hmm.
You want to join? What do you think, Kills? What's your thoughts on Donovan Mitchell?
Killian, is Donovan Mitchell a top 10 player all time?
No. So I think that's the only way the Knicks get him, right? And then after that, it's who's looking, who like the Hawks maybe? Could you see them making another weird move like that? But then where are they going to put him? They're going to do a 3-guard lineup? But we already said Trey doesn't play defense, and DeJounte Murray can't play that much defense for 3 people. So
that's what I was going to say. And Murray can play off the ball, but Trae Young and Donovan Mitchell would butt heads repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see that necessarily.
That's the other problem. What you just said. That's the other key problem is his ego. Donovan Mitchell thinks he's LeBron James. And it's great to have that mindset to a degree, right? It's great to think I'm the best. But you also have to have a little bit of voice in the back of your head that you would never tell anyone you have, knowing like I tell people that I think I'm the best, but in reality, I know where my place is and I know what my limitations are, and I know what I need to do and who I need to do it with to help my team win. And I don't think Donovan Mitchell has that.
Yeah,
I don't think he has that.
There's a certain humility of like
Perfect.
a Giannis,
Yes.
like a Giannis saying like, I just saw fucking what's his name? Pat Connaughton was on the podcast. I think he was on Duncan Robinson's podcast. And he said Giannis was in the gym at like 10 o'clock at night taking jump shots. And Pat Connaughton was like, why are you here? Like, you don't need to be here. You just won an MVP or whatever. And Giannis was like, I need to work on my jumper. I need to work on my jumper. And my jump shot is good enough. And that type of humility is like, you're humble because you know your weaknesses and you continuously work at them. With Donovan Mitchell, this is still a guy that had, granted, it was in the bubble, but he was going toe to toe with Jamal Murray and had those insane 50, 40-point games.
But what have we seen since then? It's not anywhere consistent to that. And I thought before that, I always thought he was overhyped. And a lot of it started with the whole "what's a rookie" bullshit. Like we all know how we feel about Ben Simmons now, but I'm sorry, he couldn't hold Ben Simmons' jockstrap when he was actually playing basketball. So it's just like you said, it's humility. It's that is exactly what it is. And like Jokic, and I know we've clarified, like, we do love Jokic. The guy is a great basketball player.
Yeah, we just hate the analytical community, glass pushing nerds that suck him dry and try and
like people like Bill Simmons, who, because Embiid's a Sixer and he was like, oh, I gave Embiid his props on one podcast for 7 minutes 7 months ago, so I don't have to do it again for another 9. But it's like talking about like it's like Jokic, oh, he does so much with so little, blah 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 blah, but then it was always like, yeah, but then all you do is sit there and say the Sixers fucking suck outside of Embiid. But then when it comes to the Embiid conversation, it's like, well, he has more than Jokic. So which one is it? Either our team sucks or it's the same. And it's like, oh, Jokic would get so much more out of the Sixers than Embiid would.
So does this apply to Donovan Mitchell? Because it's the
I'm
same.
saying, yeah, I know but I'm saying, we were saying the humility part.
Yeah.
Jokic, for all the accolades he gets, it's never once has he he stays in who he is. He's just quiet. But it also, I think, has like a little bit of like background of where you come from. Like, Giannis knows what it's like not to eat. He was homeless, and I don't know Donovan Mitchell's upbringing because it's never been like covered in
publicly.
Deep, like it's not been covered in depth like some of these other guys. So he could have come from a bad thing, but I would feel like that would make you understand and give you some humility, like Jokic, who grew up in a country that, trust me, was not a picnic to live in. And I know people who could, have given me firsthand accounts of what it was like to live there as a 14-year-old girl, like when you have secret police knocking on your door and shit like that. So it's not fun. It wasn't fun to grow up like Nikola Jokic had to. Yeah,
no, it's not a picnic. It's not a vacation spot by any stretch of the imagination.
No. So I my answer, I guess, is the Knicks are the only team I think with playoff aspirations that could afford him.
I'll go wild card. I'll say OKC makes a move for him.
It would be fun.
It would be interesting.
Some sort of wild card where he can actually be put to use on a winning team instead of squandering away in Utah.
Josh Giddey running the point, Donovan Mitchell off ball.
Dude, that the whitest team in the world right now, and it's going to be so. But it's like, the whitest, most athletic. It's so weird.
Sneaky athletic.
Yeah, when they think about OKC, when they go just seeing them before the tip off, and you just have 3 gangly ass, pale as shit white dudes with weird hair and funky looking faces, all out there looking like the tall guy from the Monstars in the original Space Jam.
I was gonna say Monstars.
All 3 of them looking like, what do I do? And then you guys are like, nah, we're gonna take these guys, and 2 plays later, it's Chet Holmgren rejecting someone, picking it up, throwing a half-court pass to Giddey, who then throws an alley-oop to Poku.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a league pass team for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So last thing, Flyers, and then we'll wrap up with some vague MLB draft stuff with the Phillies. The Flyers, this organization has to be one of the most incompetent I've ever seen as a fan. Now, granted, I've grown up in the Philly sports golden years. I understand that. I've seen a World Series, 2 no-hitters, a Super Bowl. The Flyers made the Stanley Cup when I was 8 years old. I don't really remember much of it, but still. The years
fun.
compared to my dad's upbringing in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I'm living in the
My
top.
upbringing in the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, the apex. I'm living in the apex. I get all of that. But Chuck Fletcher has to be the biggest moron in the NHL if he's not willing to move a few contracts to land Johnny Gaudreau of the Calgary Flames. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Johnny Gaudreau had his career year, scored over 100 points by himself. Calgary was one of the best teams in the West. Went to, 6 games with the Oilers, 5-6 games with the Oilers.
They blew that series because they didn't have a goalie, or else they would have went further.
Exactly. He was on Johnny Gaudreau was on one of the best lines in the NHL this season. And for the Flyers to say aggressively retool this team has to be moronic. It is moronic. I was going deep in the hockey reference pages today because I was so upset hearing aggressive retool. Since the Stanley Cup final appearance in 2010, 7 playoff eliminations. 3 of those have been in the first round. 6 seasons missing the playoffs in the last however many years. How not 7 playoff eliminations? That can't be right. Yeah. I just realized I messed up my own math. But anyway, scratch that. I'm
trying to think of the years they made the playoffs, and they made the cup in 2010. All right, so lost in the second round to the Bruins in 2011, lost to Jersey in the second round in 2012, didn't make it in 2013, lost to the Rangers in the first round in 2014. Didn't make it. I got it.
So they missed the playoffs. They missed the playoffs in 2012 to 2013, 2014 to 2015, 2016 to 17. 2018 and 19, and then the last 2 seasons. I don't know where I got the playoff losses from. That may have been something else. Anyway.
They haven't made it past the first round since 2012.
Yeah. Since 2000, 10 coaching changes have taken place, 11 with John Tortorella coming in. The 2020 record, which was 56 games because of COVID, 25 wins. Okay, COVID season, a little weird. The 2021 record with a full 82-game schedule, 25 fucking wins. This has been the same team that's gotten worse, and granted, it's getting younger, but this organization is not competent enough to aggressively retool. You know who does aggressive retools? Good teams, traditional teams that have won Stanley Cups. I don't know, the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are going for 3 straight, Colorado Avalanche, who just won a Stanley Cup for the first time since the early 2000s, and they're losing key pieces just because they can't afford them. Those are the type of teams that make aggressive retools. The Toronto Maple Leafs, who have generational stars in Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. Those are the teams that do aggressive retools. And the draft history hasn't been kind to them either. You want to go through Travis Sanheim, only played over 60 games 3 times in 5 seasons. Ivan Provorov, 2 double-digit goal seasons in 2019 and 2017. Sure, in 2015, they drafted Travis Konechny later, but they also passed up on Matthew Barzal and Sebastian Aho and Mikko Rantanen, who are still contributing at high-quality teams. Yeah, the Islanders have slipped the last few years, but the Islanders are still the same team that were routinely making conference finals just a few years ago. 2016, German Rubtsov. I don't even know where the fuck this dude plays anymore.
Jermaine Rubasov.
I don't even know if he still plays hockey anymore. And who did they pass on? Alex DeBrincat to Chicago, who's coming off a 40-goal season.
And who they could have just traded for, instead they traded for a neo-Nazi defense.
I'm not going to say neo-Nazi. I think that's a little.
No, he is. I liked it until I found out why everyone hates him.
Is he really neo-Nazi?
They apparently when he was younger, he was there's pictures and they people were pulling up all these past posts and rhetoric, and there's it's almost 99% confirmed that he was stormed the Capitol on January 6th.
Even makes my point even more. And probably the most egregious one in the last decade that I did this, I went back through the drafts. 2017, they draft Nolan Patrick. Now, We all know how that worked out. He got traded in the Ryan Ellis trade. That trade hasn't worked out so far, as Ryan Ellis has only played 4 freaking games for this team. Who did they pass on? Cale Makar, who's arguably going to be the next Bobby Orr in the NHL. This team thought to draft a center. And I cannot get over this idea that the Chuck Fletcher can look at the camera, say to the fans, we're going to aggressively retool, and then not go and get one of the best goal scorers who wanted to come to Philly, being a South Jersey native.
Grew up a Flyers fan. Ever since he got to the NHL, all he's just talked about is coming to be a Flyer. It's all he's ever talked about is coming back home.
Exactly. And this team is too stupid to just move a few contracts. I'm sorry, JVR. We love you. You outlived your contract. I don't know what else you can contribute. I'd ship you out in a heartbeat for Johnny Gaudreau. This is a guy that wanted to come to Philly, even though this team is still very young and trying to build somewhat of a competent lineup. And for whatever reason, Chuck Fletcher said, no, fuck that. We're not doing that. We just don't feel like moving the contracts. Chuck Fletcher, I swear, if the Flyers do not, I don't even want to say make the playoffs. If they don't reach a conference finals in the next 3 years, this will all be for nothing. This Johnny Gaudreau decision is going to hang over this franchise for decades, just like that Cale Makar pass up in 2017. And this organization is god awful and should be ashamed of itself as a hockey club and organization. When in reality, Flyers haven't won anything since the 70s. Freaking not Jimi Hendrix, the Eagles released Hotel California, I think, the last time the Flyers won a championship. So I don't want to hear any more about this retooling bullshit. You had one good season where you finished as a 1 seed in the bubble, and then you shit the bed so hard that even the sheets couldn't be clean. They had to get tossed out directly to the trash. So I don't want to hear any more of this.
They played great for 4 games and then sucked.
Could only score 1 freaking power play goal in 50 attempts or whatever it was. Ugh. But yeah, that's my whole tangent on the Flyers.
So I'm looking, and it's because I always thought, I don't know why I thought Bobby Ryan was part of that draft. I was looking at some of the other, just more recent, absolute terrible ideas. In 2007, they took some dude I never heard of called Kevin Marshall, 41st overall. This is probably second round or compensatory picks. Okay.
I could even go
2 picks later, PK Subban.
I could even go as late as early, I should say, as recent as 2019. They draft Cam York. Granted, Cam York is he was a bona fide stud coming out of college, but they pass up on Cole Caulfield, who was one of the highest scoring college players in Division I that year. And he's going to flourish with Montreal and Marty St. Louis. But it just seems like repeatedly over and over again. This
2002.
franchise. Go ahead.
Yeah, they think they're right. 2002, Yoni Pikkinen. Serviceable. Eventually, they realized he wasn't going to be the guy. They got rid of him. Duncan Keith was taken 3 picks later. Duncan Keith. Guy who eventually beat them to the pick. In 1990, took Mike Ricci, 44th overall. Mike Ricci had an okay career. Was kind of a serviceable, decent, third scorer for a couple of years there for that with the Avs and Sharks, but not a 4th overall pick. All right. Number 5 overall in that draft, a gentleman who made the mullet famous by the name of Jaromir Jagr. Number 5, and we took fucking Mike Ricci. Went to play for our goddamn in-state rivals for the better part of 2 decades. Martin Brodeur was also taken in that draft 20th overall. It's they could have had Chelios at one point in one of the drafts.
I found this one really pissed me off. 2013, they draft Sam Morin, and they passed on Max Domi, passed on Nikita Zadorov, passed on Andre Burakovsky, passed on Ryan Hartman, who was on the Wild in that series that went 7 games with the Blues. Jake Gensel, who went in the 3rd round and was a key cog in the Pittsburgh Penguins winning more cups. So I don't want to hear any more about this retooling to contend bullshit.
Lucas Spiza, 2008, when they take him instead of taking either Jordan Eberle, who would have been solid, or Roman Yossi, or Carlson.
So dumb. They haven't done anything. You can't contend. And the way you contend early is by signing guys like Johnny Gaudreau. He's Johnny Hockey. He wanted to come here.
So the thing that sucks the most is that when I was growing up, obviously we are multiple years apart. We're what, 14 years age difference?
Yeah.
Yes. So the thing that sucks is when I was growing up, the Eagles sucked. They were terrible. Like when I was really young, they had those cup. It was like the end of the gangrene, Randall Cunningham, and they had like one Rodney Pete year. But they literally were an atrocity of a football franchise for years. But the city still loved them. The Sixers sucked, and then they got Iverson. And then the Phillies just flat out blew outside of 1993. And every year was, oh, we're finally going to get back. And they just sucked until we got Utley and Howard. The Flyers were the one team that you always knew was going to be good. No matter what, you always knew that come, October, November until April, May, the orange and black were going to get you through what the rest of the sports franchises were, putting you through. And now it's the complete opposite. I didn't watch a single game last year after maybe the first three. I just couldn't.
It was so hard to watch.
I just couldn't. I just didn't see. I'm like, what? We don't have a prospect. Like when the Phillies sucked, you still wanted to watch Dominic Brown, or now it's like if we weren't that good, I'd still watch and see Bryson Stott and boom. Yeah, and that's pretty much why I watch anyway. But you know what I mean? When it was the process, it was to see how Embiid was progressing or Sim. They don't have anyone. Oh, Ivan Provorov, cool. He's a puck-moving defenseman whose highest point total is, 45 or something?
I didn't even look because I didn't want to know. Like, the only players I would say –
these guys were all promised to us. Hextall drafted these guys, and all you heard in 2015 and 2016, these guys are coming, and we're going to be a dynasty. It's like the Blackhawks did, and they're going to build them up. They're going to build – and we got nothing. Our best goal scorer is a midget in Travis Konechny. Johnny Gaudreau is a superior version of Travis Konechny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And here's the other thing. I love Johnny Hockey. He's not the answer. Like, and while it sucks, it would have been great to at least have him from like a PR standpoint. He wouldn't have been the ultimate fix, and it might have hurt us worse. So I think it sucks that we didn't get him, especially since he wanted to come here. What is more annoying is that they're trying to give a facelift to a pig.
Yeah.
Just blow it the fuck up and pray that you get a top 3 pick in one of these drafts where someone like freaking what's his name comes along on Edmonton.
McDavid?
Yeah, like someone to at least even a third of his quality. Like, do you get a Patrick Kane or a McDavid? Like, then again, Patrick Kane should have been ours. The NHL fucked us and made sure Chicago won that title or won that coin toss. That said, just this, like you said, this aggressive retooling thing, stop. And why does Chuck Fletcher still have a job? What did he ever do with the Wild that makes it seem like he's invincible from getting fired? The Wild maybe made 1 second round. Every year they were like a good team because they had a goal, like a solid defense and a good goalie. And then they get into the playoffs and couldn't score. Like, it just – they took the one thing that this city could count on for years. Since it was founded, the Flyers were that team. There was a couple little spells where they weren't good, but it was the team that this city could count on sports-wise. And now, if they make the playoffs by 2024, if that's when they finally make the playoffs again, I'd be surprised. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs again for another 4 or 5 years. It's just absolutely infuriating.
You never know what happens. I won't say 4 or 5 years. Definitely, I'm not banking on this year. They hit with a few. We mentioned Travis Konechny. Joel Farabee has worked out, and for the most part so far. I
don't mind some of them.
Yeah, and even Farabee, he could miss the start of the season because he's getting disc surgery, and it's the same surgery that Eichel got. So he's going to be out for months right now. And Cam York, I would argue, is must watch, or not even must watch, but he's a player that I would watch to see grow. But even then, you don't have the household, the Matthews, the McDavids, the Canes, the Crosbys. That's what the Flyers need. They need another Giroux. They need another guy. And I think that's where Gaudreau really could have helped, was just building up the hype and excitement around the fan base. I'm not saying he would have won you a cup, but you could have at least been excited to sit down and watch a Flyers game and see, hey, maybe they pull something off. Or
right.
It
would give you a reason to watch it. But on top of it, it's the idea that when they do go and sign these players, it's always the wrong player.
Yeah.
Who okayed giving JVR that much money? Because he had one or two good years playing with a generational guy in Austin Matthews, so they gave it to him.
I think it was
and Kessel.
I think it was a sentimental thing of like, hey, we're kind of turning this thing around, and then we bring JVR back home, and then we still had, wasn't that when we still had like Voracek and Giroux and Couturier?
It's just highway robbery. Like, and obviously we still have Couturier, you know what I mean? But it's just like, it's just a lot of guys that never have like blossomed. Like, and maybe they can, but it's like, like JVR's one, you know, so you're stuck with that. And then Fletcher's like, well, I don't want to have to give things up to get rid of them. That's how it works, Chuck. That is the way it works. That is your job as the GM. You need to sacrifice to get what you want. And you don't do a good job of drafting anyway, so why does it matter? Just get the fucking picks up.
Exactly. And if you're feeding us this aggressive retool bullshit, aggressive retooling is going after the guys like Gaudreau or even a Malkin. I know Malkin, no shot he comes to Philly, but even if there's a report that said, hey, the Flyers made a run at Malkin and he's just not interested.
It just proves it. It proves it that you had some sort of direction.
Exactly. This is turning into the Knicks of hockey. That's what this franchise is turning into.
Or trying to make a trade for someone like Matthew Tkachuk. He would be perfect. He would be everything that a Philadelphia Flyer is supposed to be since this franchise was founded. Matthew Tkachuk is everything. He hits hard, he plays defense, but he can also light the lamp in bunches, and he can dish it out for assists. He is everything a Philadelphia Flyer is supposed to be when this franchise was founded and Bobby Clark, you know, first wore that C. And I just where is that direction? Where are those players that we want? You know, maybe this Cutter guy is somebody that can be it. I don't think it is, but you know, Vinny Lecavalier, another prime example of giving out big money to a guy that was over the hill.
Oh yeah, for sure. Brayden Schenn won a cup before Claude Giroux. Just let that sink in.
Well, Claude apparently, you know, might have just earned his fraud nickname with the whole Senators contract.
That's him riding into the sunset. Like, I think this is
but why wouldn't you want your cup?
Because I think he kind of accepted after the Florida series. He's just kind of like, I'm not the same player that I was. And
but that never stopped the Ginla or Ray Bork or any of the, you know what I'm saying? So it's
no, not at all. But I think he's kind of, I think he strikes me as a guy that's wired differently and just kind of wants to be close to home and just kind of enjoy this second. I don't know.
Listen, I loved Claude. I did. And I wasn't on either camp. I hated the people that were always like fraud Giroux, and I hated the people that thought he was equal to Crosby when he wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was kind of in that second camp. I'm not gonna lie, I was in that second camp because I was.
Killian really wants to come on. He keeps running over trying to get on.
Killian wants to hop on. He's got some Claude Giroux, Sidney Crosby takes.
You got some Claude Giroux takes, Killian? He said, "Yeah." You got some Claude Giroux takes. What do you think, Hills? What do you think about Claude Giroux?
All right, and we'll end on that note. Well said, Killian.
Phillies. So this is
MLB draft.
We just want to real quick. MLB draft tonight at 8:00, first round.
Get a hitter. Get a hitter, any type of hitter.
Oh no, nice. I want a college pitcher that can come and start in the rotation by mid next year.
I'll take that too. I would be happy with that.
But I would take a hitter as long as it's someone that can progress quickly.
I swear to God, if it's another center fielder, I'm gonna lose my mind. I swear.
Well, so there's a lot of it has been pitching. A lot of people that have been floated. There's 2 kids that were at one point Vanderbilt commits, but there's really no chance that they were ever going to get there because they're so highly sought after. One's name is Dylan Lesko, who probably would have been a top 5 to 10 pick from what I've been reading. But he, as they say, shook hands with old TJ, and he's now done for at least a year, which might actually send him to Vanderbilt because you might not get picked where he wants to. And then there's another kid, Barrera, I believe his name is. I forget his first name, who just is like a filthy like left-hander that like hits like 97 on the gun or something. And they think he could like has the chance to just be like an all-timer. And then the college route, they're both high schoolers, obviously. It's actually insane. Like there's going to be like 5 players taken, or not 5, like 3 or 4 pitchers taken in the top like 30 picks. And all 3 of them were supposed to go to Vanderbilt next year. Like they would have had the filthiest staff ever. And they're still getting 2. They had like 6 stud pitchers. Anyway, so the two college guys I've seen listed to them are this kid, Gabriel Hughes, power pitching right-hander out of Gonzaga, big kid, 6'4", like 225. Really like pretty good stuff. Although he did kind of shit the bed in the tournament this year, so that's a little worrisome. And then another one is a left-hander out of East Carolina, Carson Wisenhunt. Not your standard lefty, more of like a power pitching lefty, can consistently hit like 95 to like 98 in the gun. He's got some pretty good off-speed stuff. Didn't pitch this year because he tested positive for something, at which point eventually it was found out that it was not really – he shouldn't have been suspended, but they kind of just went through with it. And then the other variable that's kind of hanging out there, no one knows where he's going to go, but I don't know why I'm getting my hopes up because I know it's not going to happen, even if he does fall to us, is Kumar Rocker. No one understands what's going to happen. No one, the medical thing has been cleared up. He's looked good in this independent league he's done, but no one really knows if he's going to go top 10 again, if he's going to fall a little bit. There's reports that he could fall as far as 20. There's reports saying someone might just take a chance on him at number 5, like the Royals or something, or whoever has it. So I don't know. But
Kumar Rocker, I just looked up a mock draft. ESPN's Kylie McDaniel has Kumar Rocker going to 16 to the Guardians, which is a pick before the Phillies.
Yeah.
And the Phillies she's predicting that the Phillies pick Jet Williams, a shortstop out of high school.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yep. So
I swear to God. And that's what I said. I don't want to get my hopes up because even if he falls, like he's sitting right there. You take him. You can throw him into your starting rotation and he'd be better than Eflin tomorrow. But they still wouldn't do it. And so I don't know why I'm getting excited because I just know he's going to be there. And I'm going to be like, oh my God, we're going to get him. And then they're not. And then the fucking Braves or somebody going to draft them. And we're going to have to go against them for the better part of a decade.
Yeah, it's a Jalen Reagor situation all over again in baseball.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind a pitcher. But that does it all for us at the podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. This was a little bit of a lengthy one, but we had a lot to get through. Please support the podcast on YouTube, the Black and Blue Pod. You can find it on YouTube. We're at 21 subscribers. So to the 21 people that hit that subscribe button, thank you. Probably mostly my family relatives, but still, thank you. And if anyone else finds this podcast, hope you all enjoyed it, and we will catch you in the next episode.